Good morning, Miss Berkeley.
Good morning. How are you?
All right, this is Jacqueline White.
I hear it. I hear it. Good to hear your voice.
Good, good to see you all. I look forward to the great trainings each week.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, yes.
Good morning, Miss Valerie. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine. Good morning, Will.
Hello, good morning.
Hey, James. Good morning.
Good morning, Miss Valerie. I read the title of the training and then we're like, what's this one gonna be about? Uh-oh.
With this one today?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
What's the for?
Am I ready to? The name of the training sounds interesting.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's a good thing. It piqued your interest, so it made you want to come again.
And then what days are the ones in December? Is that on a Tuesday too?
Yeah, they're on a Tuesday, same time. And it'll be December 1st and December 8th.
I saw 3 and I thought there were 3 trainings in December.
No, it's only 2. It's only because of it's the holiday season, so we didn't want to pack you with too much. So we're only gonna do 2.
Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing, Mr. Jameson?
I'm good.
Good morning, everybody.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Good morning, Mr.
Will.
Mr. Will.
Will. I'm sorry.
Good morning, Will.
I don't
Hey,
see
how you doing,
you.
Steve?
All right.
Oh, do I have my video and how I got my video off? Okay.
There you
All
are.
right, there we go.
I've been liking the past 2 trainings.
Good, good. Most of the stuff is tailored to, to meet your needs.
Huh?
All right, so we're gonna give people a few more minutes to get here. It's 9:57.
So how y'all been doing, Miss Valerie?
It's been a good week. You start looking at the calendar. It's like, oh, we're only 1 week away from Thanksgiving. So
I know because of what happened. I didn't even know Sunday. Yes. I didn't even realize it's a Sunday.
it's going too fast. Like it's exciting, but it's going really fast. But it's going to be a different celebration this year. But we'll make the best of it all around.
Oh, this for sure. This for sure.
Are you going to cook anything?
Yeah, I'm gonna help my mom out.
Okay.
I've been helping her out, actually.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. No, we're getting ready ourselves, so it's going to be a small celebration, but the point is to keep doing things that we can look forward to.
I'll be right back. I gotta go get my principal and then realize it. I gotta go
Okay.
get the pen. 1 second.
No problem.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting season for all of us. I
I
mean, there's
know.
so many different changes. Yeah, my mom lost her god sister and friend of 70 years.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm so
to
sorry to
COVID
hear that.
about
Yeah.
a week ago.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. No, I tell her, I mean, this thing is real. Well, you know, people want to call it so many different things, but it's impacting us all in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we got to
And
continue to do our part.
the one thing that kills me is I see people with masks, but they have the mask just over their mouth and have their nose sticking out. I'm like,
Exactly.
what's the purpose?
It's a chin guard. It's a chin guard.
Right, right. You know, I don't live a very, very, very stressful life. I lived a good life. I've been around the world several times. My sole purpose now is to give my son the same opportunities I have. So I at least have to be here for him.
Exactly.
Yeah. Besides, I got two grandbabies now, but you know that's from his sister.
Okay.
I want to be around for his grandkids.
Yeah. Oh, congratulations. Look at you.
Well, the crazy thing is my first daughter, she's 28.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, my son Isaiah, he plays Uno with his niece, because they're like 3 years apart. No,
Yeah.
3 years apart? No, 4 years apart.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Congratulations, Will.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
amazing.
thanks.
You're welcome.
Why are you saying congratulations
Patty
around me?
B.
Oh, I was telling them a little bit about my family background, about, you know, I got two sets of grandkids, and well, my youngest is 13, so he still has a ways to go. Hopefully, he still has a ways to go, at least for him to be it. But you know, it's in this day and age and in this culture, it can happen
Mm-hmm.
anytime. But so far, his interest isn't in girls in that aspect. So, but that can change.
Oh yeah, that will change.
Yeah.
So how you been doing, Miss Valerie?
All is well, James. All is well. Can't complain.
You in a different room today, I see.
Yeah, I'm in a different. My house is packed, so I'm always shuffling. Like you never know where I'm gonna be. So wherever you're not gonna hear my niece, because I have a 1-year-old niece that's home. So and she's a chatterbox. So you, even though it may sound like she's screaming, she's actually just talking. She likes to project, as we say.
Yeah, they do that. You gotta use your inside voice.
Exactly. That she has no clue, and we're telling her, she's just only getting louder. Like, I need you to hear me.
Wait, who's saying good morning?
Hmm?
Some people say good morning. I'm not sure who said good morning.
I saw. Let me see. I have Miss Sarmina.
Yeah, I'm here.
You.
Good morning to
Good
everyone. How are you?
Good.
Morning.
Good. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
Mr.
And
Will.
I see
yes, sir.
Sean. Thanks for joining us. I see.
I was when I got the name of this particular trainer, I said, "Uh-oh, which way are we going with this one?"
We're going in a positive direction. That's where we're going.
Okay.
We've teamed up to give you hopefully all the tools you need to be competitive in a job market. A lot of stuff that we've covered so far, people think they know, but they have no idea. But I think the one thing I have in my corner to provide to everybody is that I'm the king of job search. I'm the king of interviews. every 5 to 6 years, I totally changed my career path. I mean, I got a background. I've protected world state leaders with the State Department. I've did record management. I've did mall security. I've worked for UPS. What else did I did? I was a ex-police officer. Um, information at a mall. Um, records management, if I didn't mention that already. Contracts and procurement. And most of the positions that I apply for, on paper, I did not have the qualifications, but it's all about your winning attitude, your positive attitude, your ability to go in the door and say, hey, I may not know it today, but give me the opportunity and I will learn it, and I will learn it well. And a testament to that is Mr. Shields. Mr. Shields was on the interview panel when I interviewed for Doors. And, you know, and I think that was one of the key things that got me in there was the mere fact that, okay, I said, no, but I can learn. And I've lived up to that. I've you know, come in, I market myself and present myself as a team player, you know, and my diverse background as far as my training and my experience, my team has come to know, you know, that when it comes to computer matters, Will's the man to go to. So, you know, so that's me giving back to my team and showing them that, okay, yeah, starting off, I may not have had all the tools in my belt, but yet I am making a contribution, and you can rely on me for this and for that. So that's how you gotta find your niche and find your position. Okay, I may not have what you're exactly looking for, but this is my contribution to our mission.
Amen.
That's a great lead-in to what we're going to talk about today. Thanks so much, Will. It's 10:06, and we have a good group of 20, a good mix of folks, a lot of familiar faces that we've seen for the past couple of weeks and a couple of new ones. So if you're new, don't be shy. Either chime in, unmute yourselves, or also there's the group chat as well. And we would love to hear from you. Please continue to share any questions, any comments throughout the training. We are here for you. If you don't know who I am, my name is Valerie Berkeley. I am the program manager for our program in Prince George's County government, which is called Project Hire, which is our disability apprenticeship program. And during this time, we wanted to just dedicate a lot of energy into training. These have been uncertain times across the board, but we wanted to spin it and make it and turn it into something positive and enriching for all of you. So we have launched our job development training series that has been taking place during the month of November, and Will has been our wonderful speaker for each one. And today's going to be our last one. So most of our training series are going to be about 2 to 3 trainings. This month is going to be 3. And today you are attending Are You Ready to Work? So we talked about our resume building, writing our cover letters. We talked about having great interviewing skills. And now you landed the job. So are you really prepared, you know, physically, mentally? Are you ready to give it 100%? And what does that look like? So with Will's diverse background, as he just talked about, it really gives you an opportunity just to see the different phases of getting the job, applying for the job, and really being able to be successful. I always say those first, they give you 90 days, but I feel like you make a really strong impression during those first 30 days. And you're excited, they're excited, so make the best of it. So I'm really happy that we're able to have a frank conversation about this, because whether you're currently working or you're seeking to work, all of this is useful, because you can be at any phase at any time. You never know. So you always want to be as prepared as possible and really flex your muscle when it comes to new skills and being able to improve yourself. It's all about personal growth, because it can never get old. As I say, we're always going to be educating and learning. So I'm excited for today. Just a couple housekeeping rules. If you just make sure that you maintain yourself on mute as much as possible. If you do have questions, or if you know you're not going to have any extra background noise that might interrupt the presentation, we just ask that you do that. If you do have questions, we do encourage you. We are a lively group, as you've seen. Feel free to unmute yourself, ask questions, let us know what you're thinking. Because even though you may feel like, I'm not sure if I should ask that, maybe someone else has that question and you could be helping us all by asking new. And it could be something that maybe we all know the answer to, but you just need further clarification just to see, okay, are we all on the same page? You can utilize the unmute button to ask questions, or you can go in the chat. I'm going to be in there checking for any questions. So as they pop up, I'll just kind of chime in and let Will know that there's an additional question that needs to be addressed to the group, and then he'll make sure to address it. Also want to acknowledge the team at Doors. Thank you so much for attending. You guys have been with us from the beginning, so I really do appreciate that extra sense of support, because this is what it's all about. We're not meant to do all these things in life by ourselves, so I'm just really glad that as a team, Doors has come through, even though Will's leading the way with the presentation, but he has his whole team here with us as well. So they've been extremely supportive by chiming in, providing additional content to the presentation. So thank you as well. Without further ado, I'm going to yield it off to Will, and everybody have a great time and enjoy.
Thank you.
All right, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Okay. Today's presentation, let me share the screen first before I go any further.
Okay.
All the trainings that I've been providing, it has been put together from myself and my team. We've all compiled this information to share with the job seekers and our consumers. And our sole purpose is to make sure that when you go out there in the job market, you are on the same playing field and you are able to actually market yourself effectively, just as anybody else would. Can everyone see the screen okay?
Yes.
Okay. So are you ready for work? Are you ready to work? What we're going to talk about today is making sure that some of the things that you may take for granted, that you may overlook, will be addressed before you sit down and you meet with the employer. We've already talked about, before the job, talked about the job search. We talked about preparing your resume. We talked about the interviews. This training will pretty much cover before the second or third interview, but definitely before you start work. Okay, because this is the key thing. You may get the job offer, but then there may be a roadblock down the road because it was something that you didn't actually address prior to you accepting a job offer. Okay, so here we go. Is it going? Okay. Items that you need to address or take care of before you start your job search, and definitely before you start working, is, do you have a stable environment, as far as your particular living situation? Are you sleeping, are you house hopping? Are you sleeping at your brother's house, your sister's house, your mom's house? Because there may be a correspondence such as a letter or a phone call that may be sent to one particular place that you were at yesterday. Make sure that you have, a stable environment to where you can actually receive any messages that you may actually get down the road. For those of you who have children, if you were to receive an offer today, do you have some type of childcare in place? Okay, because a lot of opportunities are passed up, or they're what we call put aside or delayed due to the fact that, oh, well, I can't work today because I don't have a babysitter. Childcare should be addressed because, like I mentioned in the other presentations, I've seen, numerous occasions where people have gotten jobs based off their interview, and they were either instructed to work that day or the following day. So it's important and imperative that you get that, put into place before you even start your job search. Have something to plan. Like if you have a child and your mom is retired, your mom has pretty much been, the caregiver of your child while you go out and you do your job search, okay, then fine, you already have that in place. That's something to think about. As I mentioned during the interview, the interview training, 2 forms of ID. This is for your I-9, which is the immigration paperwork. It is normally driver's license, state issued ID card, a passport, social security card. That's just so so they can validate that you are, legally able to work in the United States. Then the 4th one is transportation. Yes, you may have items 1, 2, and 3 in place, but now you got to consider, do you have a means to get to that job location on a regular basis? And will that transportation that you have, will it get you there at the appropriate time, either before or at the very least 5 or 6 minutes before your shift starts? Because the last thing you want to do within your first 30, 60, 90 days is to have a few tardy reports on your employment. That doesn't look good. Keep in mind that when you're doing this whole job search thing and working, you're putting your best foot forward. So transportation is very, very key. Now, excuse me, to go into transportation a little bit further, I would not expect anybody to who does not have a car to accept a job. If you're living down here in the DMV, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, for you to accept a job in Baltimore that starts at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning, so that's something you should really, really consider. Can I get up to Baltimore at the appropriate time with a little leeway? And then you have to throw into the inclement weather into your transportation plan. Okay, if there's a snow closure, if there's road closures, can I still be able to make it to work? Now, we're in this whole COVID home teleworking, stage. So every employer is going to have their own plan and their own contingency in place for that. But still, always keep in mind, can and how I will be able to make it to the job site on a daily basis. Number 5 is your resume and cover letter. Resumes and your cover letters, they never finish. I've said that during the resume portion of it. Every time you apply for a new job, you need to revamp your resume and revamp your cover letter. Sometimes you need to work in some of the keywords that are in the job announcement. So the employer, when they read it, they can connect your resume with the skills, knowledge, and abilities they're looking for. Okay? And now we're talking about references, number 6. Although, as I mentioned in my resume training class, references upon request is no longer required on your resume, that little statement, but you need to have some references, a list of at least 6 references, professional and personal, with you when you carry your resume and your cover letter with you to the job interview. Just keep them, handy, because if you're going for the interview, and let's say that you apply for a job online, if they're interested in you, in some cases, even when you walk in the door, they're going to give you an application. Most applications want you to list 3 to 4 references. If you follow this particular plan, you're already going to have that list of references ready to go, and you just copy from your notes over to the application, and you're good to go. Okay, so keep a list of references with you, along with your cover letter and your resume. Number 7, have a accurate and working valid phone number. I cannot stress that enough. I had an incident the other day where someone wanted me to call them because they had an issue at a job site, but the phone was not working. The phone number was not working. Or someone left me a message the other day and they said, please call me back, it's an emergency. You gave me your name, but you didn't give me a phone number. So be sure that the numbers that you put on your resume, you put on the application, are working and accurate numbers to where if the employer were to give you a call, they could reach you or leave you a message. Okay.
Mhm.
Number eight. Number eight is kind of optional, but at the very least, you should have access to some type of electronic device to where you can view your emails, because in most cases, the employer is going to give you a voicemail message or they're going to respond to you via email. Access to your email account and some type of electronic device to where you can actually, view information that's sent to you electronically is very, very key. Now, I understand we're in the day and age where COVID has shut down a lot of the public facilities, such as the American Job Center, which had, at least 40 laptops for you to use at your leisure. I'm recommending that if you do not have a computer, and being that everyone here is online, I'm assuming you're all via computer, this one shouldn't really be an issue, but make sure that, you do have access to it. Number 9, a professional email. Can anyone tell me what I mean by a professional email?
Um, you have to make sure you have to make sure it's correct and sound correct
Absolutely.
before you send it
And
out.
it appears to be a email that is professional. I know someone who applied for a job and they used Spider-Man 67. That's not professional. I know someone who her email address was Pretty Brown Eyes. That's not acceptable. My email address, I have several. W Brownlee 001 at blah 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 blah. Um, Will Brownlee 1013 at such and such such and such. Be mindful of the employers. They may be able, or they may even look at your email address. If it doesn't come across as, as being professional, that may work against you. But then again, be careful too of the type of email address you provide. Don't give them something that can get confused, like WRB 6789 underscore 423 OAT MAN dot at yahoo.com. Keep it as simple as possible. I always recommend, if you can, first initial, last name, at so and so. You can put some numbers there, but keep it as simple as possible. Um, um, just a little side note. I used to do business consultation for people who had their own businesses, and I worked with the guy who was a web developer. And one of the biggest flaws when it came to people and building websites was the website name was too extravagant. Um, Diamonds and furs, 36, blah, blah, blah. No, keep it as simple, because the simpler it is, the easier it is to remember. So if my name is John Doe, John underscore Doe or John Doe at Gmail, it's that simple. But if you put all the numbers and all the other stuff there, it's real easy for one finger to miss a key and put in that wrong character, and you would never get that email. And it may be a position that you're actually looking forward to. Keep your emails professional and keep them simple. Okay?
Mhm. Yep.
Number
The
10. Yes, James. You had a question?
yes, I do. On the professional email, you say the type of email that is simple and makes sense. So, how do you
Yes.
know? Okay, now let's say this. Let's say, for example, you get email. Is it not professional when the email that comes to you goes to your spam? Is that what you mean when you say not professional?
No. Sometimes that's very, very good, James. Sometimes when you use a email that is like non-professional and non-simple, sometimes the on computers they have this thing that there's a programming called an algorithm. If it recognizes too many characters that are in the wrong place, it may send that email to spam. So
Okay.
let's say my email was WRIB underscore 12345 underscore diamonds and pearls at yahoo.com. Some
That's
computers
too
are
long.
right, but some computers see that as being a possible solicitation or spam. But if you keep it as simple as possible, it may actually get directly to the inbox. And the same thing when it comes to the employer sending you stuff. I recommend, and James, that was a very, very, very good question you asked. I recommend that even when you do check your email, check your spam email also, and don't necessarily open the emails up fully, but just take a look at the addresses and see if some of the the extensions, what is the at, let's say McDonald's.com or UPS.com, make sure that's not in there, because sometimes the way your email address is formatted, the computer may recognize it as spam. So keep that in mind too. But the primary focus for you is to make sure that your email doesn't get sent to the employer spam, because it may never get looked at.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. Number 10, know what line of work you're interested in. Know the industry. So if you are, a driver, then you want to get into the transportation industry. If you got an admin background, you want to get in admin support. You need to know your industry and know it well, at least the job that you're going for, so you can address your job search appropriately. You need to know, if I got a background in the medical field, then I know I need to be going after jobs that are in healthcare and things of that nature. And number 10 and 11, they pretty much go along with each other. If you know the industry that you're interested in going after, you should address your job search appropriately. But also keep in mind too that some of the jobs out there are some of the skills are transferable over to the other. Just like when it comes to like hospitality. Hospitality is a very, very broad field. Hospitality, you can go into hotels, you can go into motels, you can somewhat transfer over to restaurants. If you are a server, if you're a banquet server at a hotel, you can definitely serve food at Fridays or Smoky Bones or any other restaurant. So keep that in mind. Keep in mind that some of your skills are transferable. Applications. The applications, I pretty much mentioned that along with item 5 and item 6. But make sure that you have all the information with you. If you go to this interview or you go to meet with the employer, you should be carrying along with your reference letter. Yeah, I mean your references, your cover letter, and your resume. You keep and you keep all the information you need to complete an application. Your past employers, their address, a supervisor's phone number if you have it or not, and that way that completes the package. So you should be able to get out there and accomplish all of 3 tasks at one particular time, using one stop, so to speak. And number 13, benefits counseling. It's important that you know when you go out here and you're looking for a job that you've had adequate adequate benefits counseling. So you need to know how this employment will affect your SSI, your SSDI, so because I know in certain instances, it's like for every $2 you make, they deduct $1. And that's also one of the biggest things I come across is folks do not understand how employment affects their benefits. In the sense that, they think that, okay, well, Mr. Brownlee, I can't accept this job because it's going to affect my benefits. Well, have you talked to a benefits counselor? because there is if I'm correct, and BSR teams help me out, there is like a 13-month trial period. Am I correct on that? I know it's close to a year of a trial period to where your benefits, they're somewhat put into a holding status. It's like a trial period. So then you're not instantly cut off immediately, you know.
What-
When
Excuse me, Will.
yes,
I went to a class and I think it was a 9-month period.
a 9-month period. Okay,
Yeah.
I knew it was close to a year, but still there's a 9-month to a year period to where your benefits are put into a standstill status, to where if you were to make a salary that exceeds your current benefits, so SSI or SSDI you're receiving, if you were to unfortunately lose that position, you wouldn't have to fully reapply again. And that's the key thing. So most folks think that once I get this job, my benefits are cut off and I'm out the system. You're not out the system until you complete that trial period. So keep that in mind. Number 14, the appropriate interview and work attire. I already brought this out during last week's training. That professional dress, that that blue and that black suit or outfit, the Sunday best, if I can trigger somebody's memory, I think I used that.
Yes, you did.
That professional work attire, but more importantly, during that interview, you should find out what the actual daily attire should be. Like if you're in the IT field, most IT companies, and let's say as I mentioned too in the training, Jake from State Farm, khakis and a shirt. Some employers want that. Some employers want you to come in, looking business professional. So that's something to keep in mind too. And there were some resources given out as far as, entities to where you can get this work attire. We shared that with you. Okay, so moving right along, that's what this presentation is going to cover in the most part. I'm going to break it down for you, all 14 items. Stable address, where you can receive possible letters from employers. Phone interviews from employers, and which is this is connected to that working and valid phone number. Okay. A quiet place with no distractions. At one point in time, my household had 7 people in it. And when I had to have business phone calls, I would have to go into the bathroom and close the door because everybody was running around the house. They were doing their own thing. But, keep in mind that you need to have that, place where you can actually talk to an employer where there's no background noise, there's no stereo blasting, there's no TV talking and things of that nature. A place to store interview-ready attire. You should always have some interview attire on standby, that if employer called you and say, hey, can you be here by 3 o'clock today for an interview? You already got your interview status, work attire, you got your quote unquote good outfit on standby. You may have to, get an iron out or get a steamer out, get the wrinkles out, and you have it ready to go, and then you're on your way. Okay, D, a place for you to get the proper amount of rest to prepare your work. That goes back to, that stable environment. Keep that, in mind. The last thing you want to do is show up to an interview or meet with the employer, and during the entire session, you're constantly yarning. That sends a message to the employer that, okay, this person is a night owl, and this person's going to come here to work, and they're going to be tired every day, and maybe there's somebody who I don't need in my environment, especially if you're in if you're trying to get a job in an industry such as Dave & Buster's. Dave & Buster's is a very, very active and interactive environment. So if I'm applying for a job with the interview, if I'm doing an interview at Dave & Buster's and I'm showing lack of energy and I'm tired, that's not going to look good because that's a high energy place. Same thing for Joyful Jumps and the Sky Zone. They need somebody who's going to come in with energy. And you can't have that energy if you don't have the adequate rest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A place to practice your interview skills. You should always be well tuned with your interviewing skills. My recommendation is when you actually get that call back, you make contact with the family friend or anybody who is willing to give you an ear, and you have them give you an interview so you can practice what you need to go over for the main interview. Okay. Childcare. Okay, if you have children, you got to have a main provider, and I recommend that you have somewhat of a backup. If you already have like a professional daycare, then be sure that you speak to your parents or your siblings. Hey, in the event that I got an interview next Monday, in the event that something happens, can you watch so and so for you? Can you watch your nephew, your niece for me for an hour or two while I go on this interview? So now you got your main daycare provider, and now you have a backup in case something happens. And this is real life. Things do happen. You can always plan, and you can plan, and you can plan and plan ahead, but there's always that small bit of a margin that things do not go always as planned. There's an old cliche, me and my cliches. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, okay? So, but you need to be prepared with that. B, create a schedule for you and your children with the daycare provider. Get your kids prepared that although you may be with them a majority of the time now, get them set up to where they will be comfortable with you not being around. Because the last thing you need is when you're on the job and then you get your name across the PA system 3 to 4 times a day because your kids are calling looking for you. That doesn't look good on you as a working professional, and the employer doesn't look at that as being positive too. So create that schedule so your kids can be accustomed to you being around. One of the things I used to tell my kids, and at one point in time, I had 5 kids and I got two grandkids. Okay. And one of the things I used to always say, if everyone is breathing, no one is bleeding, and no one needs to go to the hospital, it can wait till I get home. Don't call me every 5 minutes saying we hungry or I need this or I need that. No, don't call. If someone needs to go to the hospital, then you call. If someone's missing, yeah, you call. But that little 5 minute, he hit me, he's looking at me, no, don't call me for that. Or when you coming home, how long you gonna be at work? Do not have this stuff in place to where your kids are comfortable with you not being around for at least 6 to 8 hours. Okay. And make sure that B and C go hand in hand. Make sure the provisions that your child needs are taken care of too, such as food. Don't have your kids calling the employer, and they'll say like, hey, Mr. James, can you come to the office, please? And then you get to the office. James, I'm just picking on you, okay? James, can you come to the office, please? And then you get there and say, yeah, your kid's on the phone. And you get on the phone and you say, yes, what's going on? And your kids say, Daddy, I'm hungry. Okay, well, your uncle is there. That you could have told your uncle who's taking care of you that you were hungry. Why you gotta call me and have me leave in my workstation and all that? So keep that in mind. Make sure that your kids are comfortable with their daycare provider and they have everything they need so you don't get that phone call.
That's true. I agree with you there.
Okay. D, what kind of transportation is needed? Okay, do you need, metro access? Are you comfortable with public access? If you're catching the bus to the subway station, have you actually calculated, the time it takes from you walking out your front door to make it to the bus stop, from the bus to take you to the train station, from the train station to take you to the drop-off location, and the time it takes you to go from the drop-off train station to get to the front door of the building. So from the time it takes you to get to the front door of the building to the time it takes for you to actually get to your workstation and prepare to work. That's all the stuff you need to take into consideration when you are calculating what we call your transportation plan. If I have to be to work at 8:30 and it takes me 10 minutes to get to work, and it takes me 5 minutes to walk to the bus stop, and it takes me 5 minutes once I get off at the bus stop to work to the office building, then I have to go into the work location and then change into my uniform. I have to calculate how much time is needed for each one of these tasks. And then when I calculate that, then that would tell me what time I need to wake up, what time I need to be at the bus stop, and give me ample time in between for life to happen, for things to go wrong, so I can be prepared. Because 1 or 2 lates over a 6-month period is totally different than 1 or 2 lates within a 30-day period. If you had a whole month of you being on time or early, that one particular time that something happens, your employer is not going to really worry about it. But if you were late from day 1, and here it is day 102, and you've been late every day, now the employer is going to start to look at, well, maybe I made a bad choice. So be sure that you could take the time, and you can sit down with any of your friends, your counselors, anybody, and say, help me map out how much time I need to wake up, and for the time it takes me to get to work, how much time do I need in my transportation plan? Okay.
Yes.
Question? Okay. Be conscious of the hours you work and the allowable daycare hours. This relates to sometimes folks get vouchers for daycare. But all that needs to be mapped out and taken into consideration, you know. And like I said, but you're going to have that backup daycare provider, such as that family, that uncle, that aunt, that mom, that dad. You're always going to have somebody in standby just in case something goes wrong. All right, moving right along. 2 forms of ID. We already got that covered because you're going to go to the interview with 2 forms of ID. Boom. Because when you go to the interview, you may get the offer right then and there. And they say, okay, well, here's the I-9. I need 2 forms of ID. You don't have it? That delays the process. You don't want to have any delays. If you give me the job offer today, I want to start work. I don't want there to be any kind of problem or obstacle in the way. And by me not having my 2 forms of ID, that delays the process. Okay. Transportation, I think I covered most of this. Yep, I did. Dropping off your kids at daycare, being able to get to work, to and from work. Okay. The something I didn't cover was the cost of transportation, gas, the bus fare, the Uber, the taxi, the Metro Access. All that should be, included in your transportation plan. Okay. Consider the route, the bus schedules, the traffic, the time. Okay. Appropriate contact numbers. So if there is any one of life's major occurrences that take place, you can contact your supervisor or the front office to let them know, hey, this is what's going on. Sometimes, and here in the DC and Maryland, Virginia area, we have an occasional bad accident. We have floods. We have a bunch of things to where something impedes the flow of traffic, and there's a backup. The Beltway is notorious for being backed up due to one accident. And then once the accident is somewhat over with, everybody wants to stop and look. They want to slow down. They want to, I call them roadside reporters. They want to slow down and just look at, the police officer talking to 2 vehicles, and then they want to go back to work and tell, well, I saw this accident and there were 2 people standing talking to a police officer, blah, 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 blah. So take into consideration and have ready on your phone the contact number of everybody who is in your chain of command, who you need to report to, so you can notify them appropriately if there will be a delay. But we're not going to have constant delays because we're already going to have a schedule set up to give you some time to get settled in when you get to work, give you some time to maybe get in a few more sips of that coffee and start your day. And that was a good segue into bullet number E. Get that schedule in place to where you can get to work with enough time for you to relax and decompress and get all of the stress of that commute out your system so you can have a clean and productive day. Okay, moving right along. We've pretty much covered the resume and cover letters, but this training was set up to stand by itself without the actual training series. So I'm gonna whiz through some of these. Consider taking training on, you already got training on how to create your resume and cover letter. Okay, visit the American Job Center or library. Each one of these particular entities has, resume services that are provided to you. We've already talked about making your resume and tailoring it to the actual industry that you want to apply for. And the same thing when it comes to your cover letter. Okay, and we already discussed that you're going to have copies of your resume and your cover letters in your hand, along with your portfolio and your references and all the questions you need to ask the employer. You're already going to have that in your portfolio when you show up for the interview. References, we already talked about that. Have professional, I recommend at least 3 to 4 professional references and 3 to 4 personal references. Everybody know the difference between the two? Is that a yes? That's a no? That's a kinda? That's a sorta? I'm not going to go on until I feel confident that y'all understand the difference between the two.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Okay. Skipping ahead to bullet number C because bullet B was pretty much repetitive. Okay. Always
Excuse,
let your references know that you're using them. So when I call as an employer, I do not set their alarms off because we're very, very protective of the people that are close to us. Okay, so in some cases, if someone calls looking for you, that person may not want to give them any information about you. So we got to keep that in mind. Let your references know that you are using them as a reference. Okay, that's always good to
okay,
know. It's always good to inform them of that. Okay.
Yes.
Also, consider using your former supervisors and coworkers. Those are your professional references. And then the personal references is those who can speak on you and your character. A personal reference can be your church pastor. It can be one of the ministry leaders. It can be a church elder, somebody who you have a constant interaction with, who can speak about who you are on the personal side as well as the working professional side. Okay?
okay.
Accurate working phone numbers. The last thing, I've been on the side when I worked in contracts. When I worked in contracts, it was my job to review the resumes of all the employers that were bidding for government contracts. So if the job required 6 people to have a background in finance, I had to look at all 6 resumes to make sure that each of those 6 individuals had what the job announcement required. So in some cases, I had to do follow-up phone calls. And it drove me crazy that when I would call a number and the number was the wrong number, I got that recording saying that that number was not in service, or the number just didn't work. Make sure that your numbers are up to date and they're accurate, and the employer can reach you. Be also mindful. B is very important. Be mindful of the content that you have on your voicemail. as a person who used to make phone calls for an employer, I'm gonna give you an example. There was this one young lady I called, and there was this very provocative song in the background of her voice message, and this is what she said: "Hey, you know who this is? Leave a message, and I'll be sure to get back to you."
Oh my
I'm an employer. That's fine for personal, and that's fine for your friends, families, and other associates. But me as an employer, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear, "Hey, you reach um hypothetically speaking, hi, you reached Tiffany. I'm not available right now. Please leave a message and your phone number after the beep, and I'll be sure to get back to you." Now, if you want to keep that other provocative or that other informal voicemail, um, for your personal contacts, and I suggest you get another phone number to give employers, so your voicemail will come across as being professional. Because honestly, I know some employers that when they hear that, they'll just hang the phone up immediately. And sometimes that music overpowers what you're trying to say. You hear more of the music in the singer than you hear the actual message. So consider the voicemail that the employer is going to hear if the fact that you don't answer. Okay? And B and C kind of go hand in hand. Keep your phone well charged to avoid interruptions. Now, sometimes things happen, this whole FM radio thing with cell phones, it is not the great. An employer would accept a drop phone call because that's what happens. But the last thing you need to be is talking to an employer who's interested in you and your phone dies, because it takes anywhere between 20 seconds to a minute for you to get enough charge for you to call that employer back. And in some cases, if the employer called you, some of the working numbers are what we call trump numbers or trunk
You can't
numbers.
call back here.
Right. You call back, and it's somewhat of a disguised number, or you call back to the main numbers, such as with doors. If you call my office, you get the receptionist first, and she'll transfer you to me. But if you don't remember who you were talking to, yeah, I was talking to somebody. Well, who are you talking to? I don't remember the name. Then that receptionist can't help you.
right.
But if your phone is well charged, at least that particular incident will not take place. The last thing you want to do is have your phone die, but the time it takes for your phone to recharge, that employer who's interested in you may have gotten up from their desk and they walked away. You may not have gotten an accurate name, or you may have just gotten a first name and no last name. Then you have to go back through all your emails to try and figure out what was James's last name. And the more time it takes, the further this person is getting away from their desk. And also that they may have already moved on to another phone call. And once again, I already mentioned this in the previous slide. When you speak to an employer, find a quiet place with no background noise and no distractions. Like a few moments ago when I was talking to you about the previous slide, I heard a bunch of sirens, in the background. It sounded like it was like 30 or 40 sirens. That somewhat distracted me a little bit. I don't know whether y'all picked it up on that, but I had to struggle to stay focused on this particular presentation. So that's something that we need to keep in mind, because it can happen very easily. And when it comes up on you, you have no idea that's coming, nor do you know how to deal with it. Okay, so moving along. Working computer or access to a computer. I think by everyone here is either has a computer, I'm assuming, because I'm seeing, a bunch of beautiful faces.
Mhm.
Okay. If you don't have a computer, be sure that you can borrow or be able to use someone's computer to get, sometimes the employer will send you additional forms. Be sure that you can access those forms. Okay. And in this day and age, um, computers are getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So keep that in mind. I mean, now you can get a computer for like under $170. And in some cases, you can. I wouldn't recommend you using it, but you can use a tablet. But a phone is entirely too small for you to do any kind of form. Okay. In the old days, prior to COVID-19, you could go to the American Job Center. You can go to the library. They had computers that you can access, and it didn't cost you anything. Until we get back to that time, and until we get over this little crisis that we're in, be sure that you have some type of access to a computer. Okay. Um, daily, at least, or at least twice a day, check your emails, because that job, that offer or that contact from the employer can come at any time. Be sure that you check your email on a regular, especially if you're actively applying for jobs online. Check your emails and check them again and check them again, just to be on the safe side, because you never know. Time is of the essence when it comes to the jobs, especially in the day and age we're living in now. You know, there's a lot of people out displaced. There's a lot of people looking for work. So be sure that you stay on top of it. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of background noise. Bear with me a second. Okay. All right. Be sure that your resume is in a format to where it can be easily uploaded from your computer. I always tell everybody when I'm at the American Job Center, I used to sit there on Wednesdays. When I used to help them create their resumes, I used to always tell them, email it to yourself. If you email it to yourself, you always have access to your resume, your cover letter, and your reference letters. If you have it all in an email, it doesn't make a difference where you are. If you can get access to a computer, or you can get access, or you can log on to your phone. If an employer says, hey, send me an up-to-date resume, you just go into your phone, go into the computer, click on email, open up that email, click on forward, take off all unnecessary information, type in the employer's name, and boom, the employer has it within an instant. They have the most up-to-date and accurate email that you have. Always, whenever you do changes to your resume, your cover letter, or your reference letters, email it to yourself and just put a title. You know, updated resume, 11/17/2020, which is today's date. If I would do that right now, that's what I would put in that particular email as the subject. So if I met with an employer today and it says, hey, can you give me a resume? I don't want to tell the employer, okay, well, I'll send it to you when I get home. No. Oh, you want a resume? You want a cover letter? Okay, let me send it to you right now. Boom. It's in his face. It's in his inbox. So there's no opportunity for him to second guess. He has it, so he can review it, because he may tell that three or four other people. And the same thing when you're going to job fairs and hiring events. If you get a business card and the person says, yes, send me your resume, as soon as you walk away from that person, you should be in your phone or on your tablet, or if you carry a laptop with you, you should be already within a few steps of walking away from that individual, sending that person your email. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
And be sure when it comes to this to follow the instructions of the individual. If you're at that job fair and the employer says, yes, send me your email and put, that we talked here today, then you put that in your subject. Hey, this is so-and-so. We talked at the project hiring event at about 3:30 today. As requested, here's the email that you wanted me to send you. Do not hesitate with that.
Okay.
Okay. I already talked about the professional looking email. Okay. Simplest way to do it, either first initial or first name, last name. Numbers, when it comes to numbers, be very, very careful when you're putting numbers at the end of your email extension. Like if I put W. Brownlee, 1968. The employer somewhat assumes that, okay, either he put the year he graduated or he put the year that he was born. So if I put 1968, the employer is going to do the math and say, okay, well, this man is 52 years old. In some cases, it may not be an issue, but think about me applying for a job at Sky Zone as a trampoline attendant. That probably would not be conducive, being that if I was applying for that job, my peers, my coworkers would all be between 18 and 25 years of age. And here I am coming in as a 52-year-old. That may be the potential of future conflicts, and especially if my manager is 22. If my manager is 22 and I'm coming in at 52, that person, this is all speculatory, that person may be intimidated by me, or they may feel that, you know, my ways and my thoughts are too old and outdated. But if I put the year I graduated on in my email address, that may inadvertently disqualify me from even getting the interview, because the employer already has an idea or a mode of who he wants to put into that slot. Now, technically, that's a form of discrimination for him to do that, but it's just like any other thing when it comes to life. And it's sad, but it's very, very true. Sometimes it's not illegal until you get caught.
Mm-hmm.
Discrimination has always been there, but if it's not in your face, it's not upfront, then it's hard for you to actually say that it is if it's not mentioned. Okay, so an employer can say, okay, well, behind closed doors, well, I don't want to hire so-and-so because of his age. But he'll just tell you that, hey, you know what, we found a better person for the position. This is real life. Things happen, and these employers, when they do this stuff, they know that it's illegal. They're not going to set themselves up. They will find other ways to do it. But your responsibility as a job seeker is to eliminate the possibilities of them ever doing that to you. So that's why I always say, when it comes to resumes and the month that you graduate, I always recommend that you don't put, you know, your high school graduation, because that sometimes puts a timestamp, you know, as far as your age. If I say I graduated in 1986, and the employer can do the math, okay, the average person graduates between 17, 18, 19 years old. So I take, you know, 1986, subtract it from 2020, and then I got the estimated, you know, time that this person has been out of school. And then if I do go back a little bit further, okay, if he, you know, was 17 in 1986, and then I subtract, you know, that, then I'll find out, okay, how old this person was. So be mindful of the numbers you put. It's okay for you to put the month and the day that you were born, but be mindful of the year. Okay.
Well, excuse me,
And
Miss Latanya Jones
yes.
had a question. She has her hand raised.
Okay.
Latanya, if you can unmute yourself, we can't hear you.
Hello?
There you
Can you
are.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You're right about that, because in in 2015, I was working on Capitol Hill, and I walked with a cane, but maybe after 4 years, my employer found out that I had MS. And a month after that, they fired me. So you have to be very careful of everything that you do, because they'll use any excuse. Meanwhile, when they fired me, I had all types of letters and things that said how well I was doing, that I was getting a raise and everything. So I went to the DC Office of Human Rights because I had to file a charge against them for that. So you just you never know. You can't trust some employers because they'll do that kind of stuff to you, and it's sad, but it happens and it's true.
Right, and I can almost suspect it when they try to terminate you, that they found some other way to cover up what their true intentions were,
Well, they
or
did,
their reasoning. Yeah.
right, but I just, the thing is that if you don't have, they use the excuse that they figure that they could do that because they didn't have more than, I think it's 15 people. But you only need
Yes.
one person if you work in DC and you can file a charge. And I did. It took almost a year, but I couldn't sit still, and I knew how bad it was. And I was able to find an attorney, and I did. I didn't want to, but I had to do it. So
Right.
it's
Well,
okay.
I'm glad you brought that up. But the whole purpose of me saying all this stuff is to prevent them giving them the tools or the information they need in that particular aspect to use against you. You know,
Right.
if you know the more information you give in that regards, the more there's a possibility of them actually using it against you. And most of the stuff is done behind closed doors to where it's not relevant to you. You know, they'll just say that, hey, we found somebody who's better qualified. Meanwhile, the bottom line may be that the fact that, okay, well, we thought that you were too old. They're not going to say that to your face, of course,
Yeah.
because that opens up the door to lawsuits. But just
Right.
keep that in mind. Be
Yeah.
mindful of the numbers you put. Do not put a year if at all possible. You can put the day, you can put the month, you can put any other numbers, but if it comes in the format of a year, they may, use that calculation. And keep in mind, too many numbers, too many letters. Try and keep it as simple as you can, because when you put in that, Joe dash blow, 1 2 3 4 7 8 9 dash underscore, special character, dot, uh, um, James Bond at yahoo.com. That's too much. Keep it as simple. And going back to what I was talking about as far as my past helping a web designer, keep it something that is very, very simple and easy to remember. Like, HomeDepot.com. You know, simple. Uh, uh, don't have anything, mistype, you're not going to receive it. It's not going to go to you, and it's going to bounce back to the employer, and they may slang names, nicknames, and definitely derogatory. Anything that's derogatory, do not have that as an email address or something that can be seen that way. And to give an example of that, you probably can get away with it now, but if you go back in the 80s or 90s, if I had an email address of Black Panther at yahoo.com, that will be seen, because prior to that, depending on who you talk to, they saw the Black Panther Party as a anti-government entity. Now, in today's age, the association with Black Panther is a more leaning towards the Marvel superhero. But I'm saying all that to put that into context, that although you may think that it's not derogatory, you have to think outside of yourself and how it's going to sound to somebody who's not in the know. Such as I saw one that was like Black Prince. Black Prince is not professional, but then again, or even if you have like Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter and is not seen as a positive term across the nation. Some people, feel it as being positive. Some people don't. So keep that in mind. Keep something. I can't stress to you the best email address you can use is to, as simple as possible, your name and a few numbers, 3 to 4 numbers at the end of it. Anything else aside from that, you risk the possibility of it being taken the wrong way. So if you use your name, your government name, you can't go wrong. Be mindful of the ethnic names too. I mean, you gotta. I'm just being truthful. If you have a name that is ethnic by origin, consider using a first initial and then your last name. Okay. What we're trying to do is we're trying to increase the probability of the employer contacting you. Okay. All right. When it comes to the subject of the email, put why you're sending the email. We had a conversation at the American Job Center. We had a conversation at the Project Hire, job fair and things of that nature. And be sure that you respond to their emails in a timely manner. The work industry, know what jobs that you're interested in, know how and what you're applying for. And be sure you have an understanding of the type of work you'll be doing, the requirements of that job. Like if I were to get a job or apply for a job as a nurse, that means I may be on my feet a majority of the day. Understand that. Understand what is the requirements that working as a nurse would entail, such as medical background, probably understanding of medical terms. Some cases, being able to take blood pressure and temperatures and things of that nature. Understand who your team is comprised of. Understand that you may work for numerous doctors, so you're going to have to follow the lead of multiple people. You may have multiple supervisors. Read the job description and fully understand what your duties are or have an idea. And this goes back to you doing the research that you do for the job prior to the interview. Okay. And also consider whether, if I take this position, is there any opportunities for me to grow? Is there promotion potential? In some cases, you may be just content staying in the same position. I sometimes question why, if I can, get promoted and make $10 more doing similar work, but just being able to direct and instruct the people up under me, then I'm going to go for it.
Mhm.
Okay. The job search. This goes back to the previous trainers. Like I said, when we put these trainers together, me being the BSR teams, we took every single stage of the job search and hiring process, and we mapped all this stuff together, to where it all falls in line. So when Doris and Project Hire call this a training series, it is just that. It is, one presentation connects and overlaps with the other, to where some of the stuff may repeat itself. In this particular case, it really, really does. Okay, consider what platform you're using for your job search. The internet, Indeed, USA Jobs, any job bulletin boards. Okay, this is one thing. B is one thing that people do not do. I've done this for years. Every single job that I apply for in a company, I have a notepad and I list that. So when I get that phone call and the gentleman tells me, hey, this is a hiring manager from AT&T, I would quickly go to my notepad and find out who I applied for, what position I applied for AT&T, and on what date and what position. So I'll flip through my notes. Okay, well, AT&T is calling me. Okay, well, I applied for a position as an instructor. Okay, it was paying $23 an hour. Okay, it was based out of Rockville, and so forth and so on. So that helps me make the connection. So now I can get myself geared up to talk only about my background as a trainer as a presenter, as a public speaker, as being able to, build PowerPoint presentations and build trainings. Whereas I may have another application out there where I'm listing myself, as a business developer. And the American Job Center calls me, so I have to go to that way, because I'm applying for different jobs, and the fields are not necessarily associated. When that employer calls and they say, well, yeah, we see you apply for position XYZ, my notes would tell me what hat I need to put on to speak to this recruiter. Because I'm going to tell you, if you are applying for a job and you're only thinking about one position, you're doing yourself a disservice. You have to look at how your skills can go over into other positions. So if you're going for a job as a admin support, that's a very, very broad field. Admin support is receptionist, it's a data processor, it's a call center operator, it's a secretary, it's many, many things. It's a personal assistant. Be sure that you just don't market yourself in one particular area. Look at other job fields that are out there that your skills can be transferred over to. And my particular case, the example that I just gave to you of that list that I had, to where I had, training opportunities that I applied for. I had business development opportunities I applied for. I had workforce development and employment specialist positions. But without me keeping my notes, when that employer called, I would not know how to market my knowledge, skills, and abilities. But when I have my notes, I know that if AT&T is calling because they need a trainer, I know that I need to just talk about my background as a trainer. Now, if the American Job Center calls and they're interested in a job, they're talking to me about a job I applied for as an employment specialist, my notes would tell me, only talk about how you provide employment services.
Mhm.
So, okay, that makes sense?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Be prepared for the employer to contact you at any time, and be sure that when they give you instructions, you're jotting down those instructions as closely as possible, because sometimes they're a little bit more intense and more detailed. Okay. And before you get off the phone, after you're speaking to someone, excuse me, but can you give me your contact information again, please? Verify, if you already have it, verify that you have the person's first, last name, their phone number, and the email address where they can be contacted. Okay. And bullet number E, be sure that you proofread and check your application before you submit it. Because sometimes errors and inaccuracies, the dates may be off. That will work against you when it comes to an employer. Because when an employer is trying to actually consider you for a job, and if it's a very popular job, they're looking for disqualifying factors so they can reduce your resume from that stack of 30, 40, 50 resumes they have to read. So they're screening the resumes. They're trying to get that list down from 50 down to at least 3 to 4. And some employers, they will hold any and everything against you, but you're going to have your bulletproof application, your bulletproof resume all set to go, because you're taking the time to actually review it and check it, just like Santa Claus. Check it once and check it twice. Okay. This goes up pretty much what I just already said. Read over the application before filling it out. The dates are very, very important. Make sure that your start date with your most current employment is closely connected with the end date of your last employment. In some cases there may be a break, but if is a break that's beyond 30 days, be sure that if you're asked about it, you can explain it. So what I'm saying is that if I have on my resume that I work from June 1st into June 30th, and then there was like 30 days, and then the entire month of July I didn't work, and then my next day for employment was August 1st, I got to be sure that I explain to the employer why my resume begins on June 1st, ends on June 30th, and it doesn't pick up again until August. I got to explain why I don't have anything listed for July there. Okay. Okay. And, you know, make sure that the resume and the applications are attached and they're connected. And once again, you're going to have that resume that speaks to the job announcement, that speaks and answers the job requirements. And make sure that when you name the documents, you name the documents as simple as possible, like W Brownlee _ resume, W Brownlee _ cover letter. Don't have it to where the employer won't be able to look at the file name and not know what it is. You know, have it so that they can easily identify. You want to lessen the process or lessen the work they have to do as quickly as possible to make it flow a lot easier and a lot quicker. Okay, and more importantly, be sure that you understand the documents that the employer is sending to you, like clearance information, you know, when it comes to if you need a reasonable accommodation, you know, be sure that, you know, you fully understand what they need as far as that medical documentation, you know, that is required for you to get that accommodation if they request it. And the last bullet, proofreading, spelling, and grammar. This is one of the biggest things. I've seen one resume that came across where the person used THERE in place of THIER. Or, yeah, they used there. They used the wrong there in other words. Okay, so be mindful. And you got friends, you got family. Have them read over your resume to check for the errors. But then again, you can also do the spell check in Microsoft Office. And for those who don't have Microsoft Office, there are other platforms out there that you can use, that you can download, that is free of charge. And we can circle back to that at a later date. I can provide you the information on that, you know, but as for right now, we're going to move on with the presentation. When it comes to benefits counseling, I said that once before, speak to a benefits counselor, you know, to understand, you know, what your rights are and what you can do and what you can't do. A lot of people feel that if I get this job, my benefits are going to be totally cut off. That may not be the case, but you don't know until you talk to a professional, someone who understands that and can guide you through that. Okay. And you know, they'll also be able to give you full insight or connect you with other entities and other opportunities out there that can give you all the information you need to be productive and to continue in your job search. Okay, the most important part is C, and this happens a lot. Understand the importance of you reporting your employment, because the last thing you want to do is to have gainful employment and you did not report it. So now, you know, some red flags have gone off with Social Security, social services, and they see that you are working for a year and you were still receiving full benefits. Now they want their money back. And if you don't know, I'm going to tell you, the government works this way. They take their time in paying you, but when you owe them, they want it immediately. I don't know if you've seen or heard some of these income tax, you know, debt commercials on there where the guy says that, you know, they garnished my house, my wages, and they took all this stuff. Uncle Sam takes his time paying you, They will pay you eventually, but when you owe Uncle Sam, they want it immediately, not tomorrow. They want it today, and they're going to take any means necessary to get that money back. So be very, very important that you understand the reporting requirements for that position. I mean, as far as your employment, I should say.
I have one question.
Yes.
So, if so, in an interviewer is they say any question what they're saying while interviewing.
Okay. You say any question?
Yeah, they asking something like anything question like something like what are you good at? What your skills do you have? Also,
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. Well, that was covered in last week's training when we talked about the interviews, and when the employer says, tell me about yourself, tell me about a good professional strength, a professional weakness. How well do you think you qualify for this position? It's a bunch of questions. Are you speaking of those types of questions?
well, sometimes they ask me something like something
Why do you want this job?
Asking something about job and tell me about myself. That's why I'm thinking of.
Yes. That was covered in last week's. The best I can tell you is we can cover that again, but last week's training was recorded, and make contact with us once this presentation is over so we can give you a copy of that particular video, because some of the information is exactly what you're speaking of. So a lot of the answers are in that presentation that you're seeking. Okay, so be sure that you get the link to that particular training.
Okay.
Okay, because I cover how to answer those questions, and I also cover how questions you can ask also. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Reporting requirements, and the benefits counselor will tell you how your benefits will be affected by your employment. Some folks they say, well, Mr. Brownlee, I only can accept part-time employment, but that may not always be the case. That's why you need to speak to a benefits counselor, because benefits counselor will help you best make make a good informed decision. Decision. I'm getting my mouth to work. Make the best informed decision on whether you should accept this position and how you should accept it, or what types of hours you can receive. So,
Okay.
in red, are you ready to work? Okay. Now we're going back to the appropriate attire. We already discussed this in last week's training. Blues and blacks are the best colors to wear to a job interview. Okay. Always ask the employer, what type of attire? Do you want formal attire, or is it business casual? Everyone understands the difference between formal attire and business casual? I'm gonna tell you anyway. Formal attire will be, just like I mentioned too, your Sunday's best, your jacket, your suit, your blazer, your tie, your button-down shirt. In some cases, they may say business casual. Business casual is what normally most employers do on Fridays. They call it casual Fridays, where you wear, khakis and a golf style knit shirt. We back in the 80s, we used to call them Argyles and Izods and things of that nature.
Polo shirt.
Polo shirts. Yeah, your Tiger Woods style shirts. Okay, so find out what the employer expects, and you can't go wrong. Okay, but if the employer says business, professional business, then you put on that jacket, you put on, that button-down shirt, that dress shirt, you put on that tie, you have on a decent pair of dress shoes, If they tell you business casual, then you know you can go with the Jake from State Farm approach with the khakis, you know, the soft bottom shoes and the Tiger Woods style shirt. Make sure that your clothes are presentable, meaning they're neat, they're not wrinkled, they're not stained, they're not soiled. You know that is the best that you can produce at that particular moment. I always tell folks to dress to impress. And Ms. Berkeley mentioned, or someone mentioned in last week's training, that, you know, and I want the cliche that clothes make the man, that you always feel your best when you're dressed your best. So when you put on that nice, crisp and clean suit, and you know you look good, that image of yourself and the pride of yourself, it tends to radiate out. You tend to, when you have on and when you dress and you feel good about how you dress, your walk is different, your head is held high, you know, the people are noticing you, so you're starting to feel good, so you take on this totally different persona, and that's what helps you get through. Be mindful of colognes and perfumes that are what we consider offensive and loud by nature. And we've all experienced it to where someone seems like they took a bath in some perfume. They sprayed their entire body from head to toe. During a closed room interview, that can be seen as offensive, and the focus of you doing this interview is to take the attention off everything else but to concentrate your knowledge, skills, and abilities, and what contribution you can make to this particular employer. There should be nothing else to get into the way. Also, ladies, be mindful of and also some guys, the extravagant jewelry. I mean, I think everyone knows who Mr. T is. Don't come in the door, you know, with a bunch of gold around your neck like Mr. T, because the employer is going to be focusing more on that rather than you as a working professional. And the same thing when it comes to, you know, more of like, you know, extravagant and excessive jewelry. Be mindful that you need to come across, take all the attention off everything so they can focus on how you can make their entity better.
Right.
Guys, I understand that in this day and age, everyone is sagging, but you can't sag in front of an employer. Get a belt. Okay. I'm mechanically inclined. I'm always mindful of my fingernails. I'm always working on cars or building something. I got a toothbrush just so I can scrub the ground from under my nails. The last thing you want to do is sit in front of an employer and complete an application and you got black stuff under your nails. Keep your nails neat and trimmed. Ladies, your fingernails, if you're going for a job as a typist or admin and you're going to do a lot of typing, do not have 7-inch fingernails. Okay, I understand that you want your nails to look fierce and everything, but the employer sees excessive long nails as, how can this person type with those nails? Are they going to be typing with their knuckles? And the same thing when it comes to cashier work. If you got super long nails, there's no way you can key in, you know, what the employer thinks, there's no way you can effectively and efficiently key in, you know, a bunch of numbers and figures on a keyboard of any sort, whether it's on a screen or, you know, on a keyboard with long and excessive nails. Keep that in mind. Okay, when it comes to hairstyles, I understand that we all have our lives and we're very, very diverse, but think about you as an employer. If you're operating a law firm, would you want your clients to walk in and see your receptionist there with purple hair?
No.
What type of image would you be as a customer? You're trying to find a lawyer to help you with your accident, and you walk in the door and you see the receptionist with the entire face covered in tattoos. How comfortable do you feel about that particular entity working your law case? Or how would you feel if you had a doctor who had to perform life, threatening surgery on you, and this particular doctor had dirty fingernails, or this particular doctor, their attire, their clothes was stained and soiled. Although some of the stuff is considered prejudging, but we're talking about your health. Is there, there's a very thin line between that, but how you present yourself to others is how they're going to see it, because we are visual by nature. It's not until we actually get a conversation going and we, invoke dialect, do we get past the first perception, which is a visual perception. And I can't stress that enough, that how and what you present yourself to the employer is how they're making an assessment. The first contact will be cover letter, resume. The second contact may be an application or face-to-face interview or phone interview. At this time, you're under a microscope. You're being examined. You're being considered. And the last thing you want to do is have negative checks go against you during this particular process of the hiring system. Okay, so keep some of this stuff in mind. Okay, that's the end of the presentation. This presentation here was compiled and put together by the Doors Business Service team. Our program manager is Wanda Peel. She's based out of Baltimore. We have Region 1, which is Western Maryland. That's Mr. John. We have Region 2, which is from of Anne Arundel County, just shy of the Bay Bridge in Southern Maryland. We have, Miss Jessie, who's on the other side of the bridge, north and south of Eastern Maryland. Eastern, not Easton. I'm pretty sure Easton is covered in hers, but she's Eastern Maryland. Just consider Eastern Shore. Then we have Stephen Shields, who's covering Baltimore City and Baltimore County. I am your representative for PG County. That's why I'm in red. I have PG and Montgomery County, and then we have Region 5. It's supposed to be two of us Region 6. Supposed to be two of us, one for PG County and one for Montgomery County. That position is vacant. And then we have also a position that's for the Office of Blind and Vision Services. But in red, I am your point of contact. I'm the county representative. If you can't remember who I am, you can always contact, Ms. Berkeley or Mr. Dantzler at Project Hire. We are, partners in crime. We're going on almost 3 years together, I believe, or close to 3 years at least. So we'll be your point of contacts. And are there any questions?
No, thanks so much.
Okay. Life has taught me that when I receive training or I'm speaking to someone, I do not have any questions right then and there because I received so much information. But as I start to process it, a couple of days later, questions come up and things of that nature, and what ifs and what abouts come out. Feel free to reach out to any one of us, even if you have a question like a week from now. We're here to support you. That's our sole purpose, is to move you up to the next level, to get you in a position to where you can make a valuable contribution to society, and more importantly, to get you to be financially sufficient to where you can also uphold and keep your own.
Mr. Brown.
And yes.
How you doing? My name is Lee, Mr. Brownie Lee. Okay. I just have a comment, right? So I'm looking at your presentation. I was like, oh, this is like a review. So then as I was thinking, I was like, well, review also for me is research, right? So I said, okay, we take it like that, right? So then I said, I need to stay engaged since the research part of it popped up. And so the more I thought about that, the more I became engaged. So, and like you were saying in your presentation, one thing links to another thing. And even though I've taken this class several times, I've learned a lot. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
That I didn't know before, you know, that I overlooked or whatever, or didn't pay attention to. So now I got that in my toolbox. So thank you.
Yeah, well, that's the whole purpose. And when we put this together, some of the information it's going to constantly overlap because it's still dealing with the same topic. It's about you during the employment process, and it's going to overlap. It's going to piggyback because each one of these are tools for the interview. They're tools for the application. They're tools for post-interview. They're tools to get you at the front door to where you're able to market yourself to an employer.
Right. I get that. But you know, when I was first at the beginning of the class, I was like, oh man, I done this before. But then I had to just really start engaging myself. Right. I said, you know what? Don't just take things for granted. You know, take this class. You know, and get what you can and what you think you know, then that's okay. And learn from it. And that's what I did. So thank you.
Right. I mean, I'm pretty
my attitude
sure
about taking the class. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, you know, as I give this, I always get feedback from the participants and even the professionals. Well, you gave some information that I didn't even know existed, or I didn't know about, or you gave me a different perspective on it.
Exactly.
And, you know, I'm a man of cliches and metaphors and analogies and similes. And the biggest thing with that is you never stop learning.
Amen.
You can take the same course almost every week, and every time you take that course, you'll get something new from it.
Yeah, and Mama used to say that another way. Mama used to say that another way. She said, "Baby, learn from the cradle to the grave."
That's right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
True.
Yes.
That's true. Thanks so much, Mr. Whitley.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
very helpful.
Thank you. Yes, you are. Thank you.
Okay. Well,
Thank
we, the Project Hire team indoors, we're here for you. You know, we don't give this stuff, you know, just to give ourselves a pat on the back. No, this is information for you to use, and we want you to use us as a resource. Reach out to us. You know, we're the professionals. We got the training. We can give you some information or some guidance or point you in the right direction. You know, that's what our sole purpose is to, like I said, move you forward, get you to the next step in your careers.
Thanks again, Ms. Valerie.
You're welcome, James.
Yes.
I'm so happy to hear that we had another great training. I'm just checking in on the chat. The last comment I see is thank you for the helpful presentation. Can we wear a scarf during interviews? That was a question that was asked, Will.
What type of scarf and where?
I think it should be like you and your job.
I sent that message that can we wear scarf during interview? You can see my picture.
Okay. No. Okay, you gotta understand this. Okay, there's a difference between a stylish scarf and a cultural scarf. Okay,
Yeah.
they should be able, when they meet with you, to understand that you're just not doing it as a fashion sense, that it is part of your culture.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're going to accept that. Okay, now if I were to put on a scarf and have it dangling off on the side, that was an option for me.
Yeah.
Okay, but for you, it is your culture, and culture, you know, in the true sense, it is your way of living. It's your practice. It's how you were raised. Now, like I said, if I were to wear a scarf and have it twisted off to the side, that is a fashion statement for me. So there's a difference between being a cultural dress and being stylish. Now, if you're going to wear a scarf as in the form of using it in style, keep it, you know, to where it's not an attention getter.
Yeah.
Okay, so in your case, they're obligated to accept it because it is not it's not by choice. It's part of who you are. Okay. Now, if I were to put like a bandana on and going for an interview, put it on top of my head, you know, either wear it in the, I don't know if you know who Tupac is, but wear it like in the Tupac fashion, where the cross is in the front, or wear it in you know, in the Hulk Hogan fashion for an interview. No, that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Right.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bar mitzvah.
All right. Any other questions for Will before we do our closing statements today? All right. I see a lot of smiling faces, so I think that you did good, Will. You did good.
No, we did good.
Hey, there you go. High five, team all around. There we go.
Right.
Yes.
Understand that it's not just Will. There's Will, there's Project Hire, there's the BSRs. All of this is put together through a collaboration.
Great presentation as usual.
Oh, how you doing, Mr. Lawrence?
I'm here.
All right. Glad to see you doing well.
Mr. Mentes. Mr. Mentes. What's up, buddy?
All right. Well, I don't have other questions on the chat either. So once again, just want to thank everyone for being here another week. Just sharing so much of not only Will and his team sharing so much content, but also for all y'all to stay engaged, ask questions, and continue to learn. Because again, we can do this once again a year from now, and you're probably going to get something different. 2020. So I encourage you to continue to look out for our training announcements. I have one update we have an ADA training that Will is also going to help us out with, starting December 1st and December 8th, but we're tacking on another date on December 15th. So we'll actually have a 3-part series. I was talking to one of my colleagues at the Department of Family Services. She's our ADA coordinator. So she finally confirmed that she's available. So she'll be joining us on December 15th, and we'll be sharing more of the things and the resources and services that we currently have throughout the county. So I think that's really important because that position has been vacant for some time. Folks have found it really, really helpful. So this next training, I feel like it's going to be so important for whether you are a person with disabilities or you work within the community, you are an advocate for this community. I think it's just really important for us to be as educated as far as what our rights are. Understand that there's many different services nationally at the state level and also local level here in the county. So we just want to make sure that if you're not signed up for that training, that we still are taking in registrations. If you are, you're going to get more communication from me, just confirming that we're all set and ready to go. And as usual, if you have any questions, I am here for you. As Will mentioned, we have been recording all of these trainings. Our training that we started 2 weeks ago, and so a total of 3 trainings for this job development training series have been recorded just like today. So we'll be sending you that link. If you don't have it, please let me know so we can resend it to you. I also do a recap. Once we finish today, I'll send a recap of all 3 trainings. You have that all in one email and not separate emails. If you're interested in receiving a certificate of completion, just stating that you attended our training, it's in our records. We ask you to complete our evaluation. It's pretty simple. It should take you a minute or less. And we'll have that for our records because, again, we want to improve ourselves. We love getting the praise, but we also want to know where can we grow and how can we do this a little bit better. So please complete that evaluation link and you will be receiving your certificate within a week or sooner. I try to get those out on Mondays and Fridays. So if you submit it like on a Wednesday and you haven't gotten it, just give me till Friday and I'll get that to you as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, if you have any questions of Will, I always include his contact information in our follow-up email after each training. So if you want to contact him directly, he is available to all of us. Or if you happen to lose it, you can reach out to me and I can get a hold of Will as well.
Okay.
All right.
If I can just comment real quick about December's training, I think it's beneficial for those who are on here today to mark that on your calendar, because we're talking about reasonable accommodations and disability disclosure. What is an accommodation? Who can get it? How you get it? How to talk to an employer about it? What are the rules behind it? And more importantly, when and how and when not to disclose you have a disability.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I will
All
go
right.
ahead and sign that. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, be sure you mark December 1st on your calendar, because
December
you need
1st,
to know what your rights are as far as telling an employer about your disability, whether you have the right to tell them or you don't have the right. But more importantly, if you need assistance, how you start that process.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
All
So
right.
if, tell a friend.
Thank
If
you.
they don't know about it, tell a friend, because that's a big one. Swapped it out. We
Okay.
wanted to hit that right after this job development series to kind of make sure they go together, and then we'll talk about the other aspects of ADA. But thank you. Have an amazing rest of your day, rest of your week.
Thank you, you too.
Happy Thanksgiving as
We'll
well.
see you next time. All right. Bye,
Hey,
everybody.
Latanya.
Y'all take care.
Bye, Miss West.
Mr. Jason. Mr. Jason, you still there?
Thank you.
Okay, he's gone.
Yeah, I don't see him.
Yeah, he probably needs to circle back and look at last week, because this question's pertaining to last week's training.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make sure to reach out
Yeah.
to him. Yeah, I made a note next to his name just to make sure to send that information to him.
Okay.
All right, bye.
All right, see you later, Mr. James.
Bye. Take care, Will. Thank you again.
Anytime. All right.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.